Okay, here is a rundown of the preset that we dialed in. As you can see, 2 amps running here. I've got the Euro Uber, so based on a Bogner Überschall on one channel, and then I've got the Atomica High. The Atomica, all I've done is boost some bass and mid, and I've brought the level right down, so I'm only blending that in a little bit, and the Überschall is the dominant part of the tone. As you can see, I've kind of gone to town here and really dialed this one in. Lots of mid-range on this one. It sort of sounds to me like a cross between a Marshall and a rectifier, which is a combination I would use in the studio anyway, so I really like that. And you can push the treble to get a lot out of it. And I'm also using this input boost feature in the amp block, as you can see in the preamp. I've got the T808 mod on with 12.65 dB of gain. Let's have a listen to how the preset sounds at the moment, and then I will go through the cabs and I'll go through a couple of other little things that I did to dial it in. So it's pretty savage sounding. This particular song anyway has a real sort of King's X Dogman vibe about it, so I was going for that kind of thing on that album, which was an old rectifier basically slammed and sounding filthy, so it kind of gets that kind of vibe going on there. If you have a listen to it without the input boost, it sounds like this. Which I think adds plenty of extra grunt to it. And if we have a listen to it without the Atomica blended in, this is just the Überschall. And that's just adding a little bit in the mid-range that I think the Uber not necessarily lacks, but it doesn't have that character. The Atomica's got a very different character, so blending between them, I think, really works. So let's have a look at the cab block on the Überschall. I'm using stock cabs here. I've gone with these York Audio rectifier impulses, and essentially what we're doing is replicating what we would do with the real cab. So this is a set of vintage 30s in the cab, and basically it's an SM57 in this D position with the level at 0. Then we're blending in some 121 at -9, and then we're blending in some 421 at -6. What's nice about it is you can mute all of these and then bring them in one by one. So I'll do that. This is what it sounds like with, I'll also, will I mute the Atomica? No, I'll leave that on. In that block, I've got a similar thing going on with a 57 and a 121 from the Ownhammer Marshall TV cab. We'll come back to that in a second, but here's just the 57. So that really goes a long way in rounding it all out. And then this cab here, I'm going for these M25, so greenbacks, and also a different IR manufacturer. So just trying to bring in a different character there again. If I mute the Überschall and we just have a listen to the Atomica on its own, I might have to bring the Atomica level up a little bit. I'll do that in post. So that's how that all kind of works together. You notice in the cab block as well that I'm not using any low cut there. The reason being that this is going to sit in the mix, and when it's mixed, any EQ or anything like that will happen after that. But in general, if you want to replicate that, basically bring up a parametric EQ block. And I've got this block saved here that I've just called Guitar EQ. And I'm basically rolling off 100 Hertz, 9,000 Hertz there, and I'm making some sort of like surgical cuts here. Basically, try this whenever you're dialing in a tone. Get the looper. So we will turn the looper on, L for looper. Play a riff. come back to that in a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a riff, and then we're going to set basically one of these EQs with a super high Q, and we're going to boost the gain all the way up, and then we'll sweep it through the range and listen for any ugly frequencies. And then when we find them, we can cut them out. So you can see I've already got a couple of little cuts here, but let's see if we can find anything else that we can cut out and kind of make the tone a little less harsh. So you can see there that what I did was basically sweep through, and particularly these frequencies here, which are about 3300 and probably 5300, 5500, they have this sort of nasty whistle to them. And in the mix, that just leaves space for other instruments like the drums and the bass and obviously vocals. So you don't want those particular frequencies in there. And of course, you need to be hitting this with like Pultex and things like that. So if those frequencies, if you pull them out before that and then you do all your EQing, it's going to sound a lot better and a lot more usable. So basically, that is a breakdown of the preset I'm using in the studio at the moment, which is pretty awesome. All stock cabs, which I'm really happy about. Nothing outside of the Axe FX3. And yeah, try it out. There you go.